Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Modi Gambhir. Let's get started. Will Benjamin Netanyahu succumb to American pressure? Will Iran's ultimatum force him to submit? Iran's ultimatum is absolutely clear. Call for a Gaza ceasefire to prevent an attack on Israel. We focus on these questions and more as part of our top story tonight as West Asia remains on edge. That's coming up shortly, and here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. With growing anger over the Kolkata hospital horror, we tell you how and why the case has been handed over to the CBI and why a medical college and hospital was forced to withdraw a controversial advisory after facing backlash. A predator tutor has been jailed for abusing an underage boy. It's a shocking story. We get you the details. The Thailand Prime Minister has been removed from office for violating the constitution over a cabinet appointment. We tell you what's happening on the ground and how things reach this point. Why is Russia arming North Korea with over 400 goats? What's the story behind this unique gift? We tell you all this and more coming up tonight. Will Netanyahu succumb to American pressure? Will Iran's ultimatum force him to submit? Will he have to give in? Will he bow down to the dual pressures of an Iranian ultimatum and American demands? Or will he play a risky gamble with the fate of an entire region? You see, Israel's agreement to a Gaza ceasefire could be the last barrier holding back a catastrophic escalation. The assassination of the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh on Iranian soil last month has triggered a sequence of dangerous incidents. The region is now one spark away from a catastrophic wider war. Iran, seething with rage and swearing vengeance, has issued a chilling message. Only a ceasefire in Gaza might prevent them from unleashing a devastating retaliation. President Joe Biden shares this dread, urging that a Gaza ceasefire is crucial to avert an Iranian strike against Israel. But the question is Benjamin Netanyahu listening? Or is this the deceptive calm before a storm that could tear through West Asia? You see, Iran's warning is not just rhetoric. Iran's threats carry the weight of being capable of rallying proxies from Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, Iraq at a moment's notice. In fact, reports suggest that Hezbollah's drones could strike Haifa in just 15 minutes and reach Tel Aviv in under 40. Simultaneously, Iran's allies in Syria and Iraq could target U.S. forces, forcing America to split its focus between defending its own and shielding Israel. Iran's strategy is not just about brute force. It's about learning, adapting, and redefining attacks. According to a report from Reuters, Tehran and its allies are prepared to strike Israel directly if Gaza talks collapse or Israel appears to be stalling. Let's just take a step back here and look at what's really at stake. The assassination of Haniyeh, which occurred while he was visiting Tehran, has not been confirmed or denied by Israel, but the implications are clear. Let's just grasp the gravity of the situation. The U.S. Navy's deployment of warships and a submarine to the region is a clear sign that Washington is bracing for the worst. With both Haniyeh and Hezbollah commander Fawad Shukr now dead, the specter of a regional conflict looms large. Iran, deep in talks with Western nations, including the U.S., may be playing a deadly game, carefully calibrating its next move. In fact, in recent days, Washington has scrambled to defuse the tensions, urging its allies to convince Iran to hold its fire. U.S. President Biden, during a visit to New Orleans, made it clear that a ceasefire might be the only thing standing between Israel and an all-out Iranian assault.
We'll see what Iran does, and we'll see what happens if there's any attack. But I'm not giving up.
Are those two things tied together? Do you have the understanding that Iran could cease or stop doing an action if a ceasefire deal was possible?
That's my expectation, but we'll see. Thank you.
The stakes of the Gaza ceasefire talks, whether in Egypt or Qatar, have never been higher. The outcome will determine not just the fate of Israel and Palestine, but the future of an entire region, teetering on the edge of a wider war. Yet the situation remains volatile, with Hamas casting doubts on the possibility of any real progress. Israel, on the other hand, is bracing for the absolute worst. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has vowed severe punishment for the strike in Tehran, while the Israel Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, has made it clear that Israel is watching Beirut and Tehran very closely.
We are in days of vigilance and preparedness. The threats from Tehran as well as Beirut may come to fruition. And it is important to explain to everyone that readiness, preparation and alertness are not synonymous for fear and panic.
Israel's options are clear, but the choice is not. Will Netanyahu compromise and seek peace through a ceasefire? Or will he push the region closer to the brink of an unprecedented war? Iran's policy remains staunchly anti-Israel. The new Iranian president, in fact, has doubled down on this stance, reaffirming support for resistance movements and a commitment to retaliation. However, there might be a glimmer of hope here. Reports suggest Iran is contemplating sending a representative to the ceasefire talks, a sign that diplomacy might still have a chance. But with tensions this high, can even the slimmest hope for peace actually prevail? As per reports, Iran's representative will not go directly to participate, but to maintain diplomatic communication with the United States. And this could be a sign that Iran is still open to a peaceful resolution. But then how long will this window of opportunity actually remain open is anybody's guess. You see, Iran has not publicly indicated what its response to Haniyeh's assassination will be. On April 13, just 2 weeks after 2 Iranian generals were killed in a strike on Tehran's embassy in Syria, Iran launched a barrage of hundreds of drones and missiles towards Israel. While most of these were intercepted, the attack demonstrated Iran's capability and also willingness to retaliate. As per reports, if a ceasefire is not reached, Iran's response is likely to be even more severe and not just symbolic. whether Netanyahu will make the decision to agree to a ceasefire or whether he will continue to play this dangerous game of gambling is again anybody's guess. The stakes could not be higher. A ceasefire would not only prevent further bloodshed in Gaza, but could also avert a broader regional conflict that could spiral out of control. But time is running out, and the decisions made in the coming days may just determine the future of West Asia for years to come. And the tensions between Iran and Israel are not the only thing keeping the region on the brink. In fact, the volatile West Asia region might be witnessing another broad yet quiet war. In the latest, as per reports, a missile attack targeted a US air base in the Conoco gas field in Syria's Deir al-Zor province. US officials have stated that the projectiles did not strike the facility. The attack, allegedly carried out by Iran-backed militias, involved 6 shells landing near the base, prompting the US-led coalition to respond with artillery fire. US warplanes were also observed flying over the area in the aftermath. The targeting of multiple US air bases in recent weeks points to signs of a quieter war brewing in the region. Note that this incident is the latest in a series of escalating attacks on US forces in the region. Just last week, a drone strike at the Rumaleen landing zone in Syria resulted in minor injuries to several US and coalition personnel. According to the Pentagon, 8 US troops were injured in that incident. Earlier in the month, another attack at the Al-Assad air base in Iraq left 4 US troops and a defense contractor injured. America's firm backing of Israel in West Asia and the increasing frequency of these attacks suggesting that tensions in the region may be intensifying, raising concerns about a potentially brewing conflict involving Iran-backed militias and US forces in West Asia. Let's now talk about a battle that women fight every day. A battle that they should not be fighting in the first place. The battle to stay safe. To step out and not be attacked. To go to their place of work and not be assaulted. To come back home safe and sound. A battle that we as women have been forced to fight. By now, you would be aware of the brutal barbarism that a resident doctor in India's Kolkata had to go through. Her parents' worst nightmare came to life. Their daughter's life was horribly cut short. The parents of the trainee doctor have said that they were initially told by a hospital official that their daughter died by suicide, and that they were made to wait outside the hospital for 3 hours before they could see her body. Can you imagine what they went through? A doctor being raped and murdered inside a government-run hospital. It's a story that has outraged the country. Doctors have been out on the streets demanding justice, demanding better working conditions. Resident doctors of the AIIMS and the Federation of All India Medical Associations have in fact decided to continue their protest until a complete Protection Act is implemented. But again, why should things even reach this point? This is the 21st century. It is heartbreaking and appalling to have a woman go through such brutality, and in a shocking development at a time when the country is already enraged over the rape and murder. The Silchar Medical College and Hospital in Assam issued a controversial advisory, which it withdrew following protests. It faced flack for the advisory to women doctors and other staffers, asking them to avoid going alone to isolated places at night. Yes, let me repeat that. Asking them to avoid going alone to isolated places at night. SMCH's Principal cum Chief Superintendent, Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, had issued that advisory following the recent rape and murder of the trainee doctor at the Kolkata hospital. The advisory was cancelled following protests from students who demanded enhanced security measures in the hospital. Dr. Gupta said, and I'm quoting, "The advisory issued earlier stands cancelled and a new advisory will be issued soon in this regard," quote unquote. Now, this came following major backlash over the move. Of course, there was anger because this advisory was also being seen as putting the onus on women doctors, making women double victims in a way. First, women have to already live under the constant threat of being attacked or violated. Second, they have to face such prejudice. Also, are women not safe anywhere? The 31-year-old trainee doctor's rape and murder has sent shock waves across the country. The case has now been handed over to the CBI. This happened 5 days before the Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee's deadline to the police, by the way. So way before that deadline was to expire, the Calcutta High Court ordered that the case be transferred to the CBI. In fact, a team of the CBI has arrived in Kolkata to investigate the rape and murder of the trainee doctor. Let me just tell you what the High Court said. The bench, led by the Chief Justice, noted that there has been no significant progress in the investigation so far. The court came down heavily on the hospital administration. It noted serious lapses and also said that it is disheartening that the principal was not proactive. The resignation of the former principal and the subsequent reinstatement only added to the people's outrage, by the way. Yes, a reinstatement as principal of another medical college following what happened. The court questioned what it called the tearing urgency in giving Dr. Ghosh a new role. Dr. Ghosh has been asked to go on leave immediately. And the court has said he will not be permitted to hold the post of principal of National Medical College and Hospital, Calcutta, until further directions. This brutal crime took place at a hospital. That in itself is deeply disturbing. Imagine such horrendous brutality inflicted on someone who is working to heal people. Doctors are saviors. They work day and night to save people's lives, to heal people, to end people's misery. Is there no safe place for women anymore? They are not safe at their workplace. They are not safe in a hospital. They are not safe in public spaces. They are not safe at home. It is appalling and heartbreaking to even be asking these questions repeatedly. But we will not give up. I'm afraid I must once again give you a trigger warning here. What I'm going to tell you next will not be easy to hear, especially if you have a young child at home. Worse still, if they take private tuitions. It's quite a popular practice, especially in India, where children go to private tutors after their school. Parents send their children to these tutors, hoping the one-on-one attention during the classes will help the child learn better, understand scientific and mathematical concepts better, perform better at school. What happens when the tutor turns into your child's abuser? An underage boy was abused by his maths tutor in the UK. This tutor is 37 years old. Her name is Holly Rouse-Sweeney. She was supposed to teach the young boy mathematics. The classes were online, but after some classes, this woman arranged to meet the teenager in person. She called him to her old home. There, she sexually abused him. And this happened not once, but on multiple occasions. This boy is underage. His tutor knew this very well, but she continued having sexual contact with him. And it only gets worse. This predator tutor kept a digital diary. There, she detailed the abuse. The diary entries also mention the boy's age. The sexual abuse went on for some time. At one point, the boy's mother found inappropriate messages on the boy's phone sent by the 37-year-old tutor. And that is when she alerted the police. The tutor was arrested. The cops also found her virtual diary. The 37-year-old admitted to the crime. She pleaded guilty. The tutor has now been jailed for 6 years. She has also been added to the UK's sex offenders register. I know this is appalling and extremely triggering. But you know what? This case is not a one-off. Only last month, another predator tutor in the UK made headlines. Her name is Rebecca Joins. She is 30 years old. Joins was found guilty of abusing 2 schoolboys. The 30-year-old has a child with one of these schoolboys. It all began in 2018. That year, Joins joined the high school that her victim studied at as part of a first teach recruitment scheme. She became instantly popular among the young boys. They would send her flirty messages on Snapchat. 2 of her victims had done the same. The first boy lied to his mother about staying over at a friend's place one night and met Joins instead. The predator tutor picked the teenager from near his home. She took him to Manchester's Trafford Centre, bought him a Gucci belt. They then went to the predator's flat, where she abused him. The 30-year-old reportedly told the boy, "No one had better find out." The boy's mother found out. She stormed into the school, informed the authorities. Joins was arrested. She was also suspended from school. But once she was out on bail, Joins started abusing her second victim. This boy was also a teenager. He was a straight A student. Joins abused him and later told the boy that she was pregnant. The victim says he was coerced, controlled, manipulated, sexually abused, and mentally abused. He says the abuse tore his family apart because they were struggling to come to terms with what had happened to their school-going child. In fact, this victim told jurors, and I'm quoting here, "I questioned if I was right to give statements about the woman who was carrying my child. Since then, I have replayed a lot of things in my head and spoken to a lot of people, and it has made me realize the full extent of the abuse carried out on me and the tactics that were used to do so. Ultimately, I will forever be Rebecca's victim and forever linked to her through our child," quote unquote. Rebecca Joins has been jailed for 6.5 years. But you see, there are many predator teachers who are still out there. They are roaming free. They are spending time with vulnerable children. If you are thinking it's time to rethink what we had been taking for granted for long, you are absolutely right. Schools are unfortunately not necessarily safe spaces anymore. Sending your child for private tuition does not necessarily mean he or she is safely studying. You can no longer protect your child by keeping her or him within 4 walls. An online tutor can turn out to be a sexual predator. A tutor at school can seal the fate of your teenager straight A child. What are parents supposed to do? How should they come to terms with, adapt with, or protect their child from this new, disgusting normal? 1. Have conversations. Talk to them about their day-to-day activities. Who are they friends with at school? Whom do they normally have lunch with or spend time with? 2. Carefully vet your child's tutors, caregivers, other staff members who spend time with your staff, with your child, beg your pardon. And number 3, talk to your children about boundaries at an early age. Teach them about good touch, bad touch. Talk to an expert who can actually guide you on how you can best protect your child from predators. One Indian Army captain was killed during an encounter in the Akar forest area of Doda district in Jammu region. One unidentified terrorist was also killed in the same operation by security forces, and arms and ammunition were recovered from his possession. Our next report getting you the details.
The Indian Army lost a brave officer today during a gunfight in the Doda district of Jammu region. Captain Deepak was leading the operation but was shot at by terrorists and later evacuated to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Earlier, the Indian Army had said that one terrorist had been neutralized in the ongoing operation. One AK-47 has been recovered in addition to the M4 rifle. It added that intermittent exchange of firing continues as the operations are ongoing. The operation had started on Tuesday night in the forest area between the security forces and terrorists, and sources say that 3 to 4 terrorists are still holed up at the operation site. Jammu and Kashmir has witnessed a steep rise in terror attacks in the last few months, with the Jammu and Kashmir police accepting that around 70 to 80 foreign terrorists are active in the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Most of them are believed to be in the higher reaches of North Kashmir and Jammu region. The dense forest range and the steep mountains have become a safe haven for these newly infiltrated terrorists. And to make sure that there are no successful infiltrations at the LOC and international border, security forces are coming up with new strategies and training. According to defense experts, these terrorists are highly trained terrorists from Pakistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region. According to recent data, over 120 terror incidents happened in the last 3 years in the Union territory. Out of them, 53% were in the hills of Jammu. Over 55 security personnel have lost their lives in the Union territory since June 2021. The terrorists are continuously targeting security forces in Poonch, Rajouri, Kathua, Reasi, Doda and Udhampur districts. Defense analysts say all those terrorists are highly trained and are from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, having battle experience including in Afghanistan and Syria. One of the most important aspects is that these terrorists are not using traceable technology such as phones, etc. These terrorists are using ultraset and radio frequency messenger that cannot be intercepted for communication and has no SIM card. These terrorists also very rarely visit villages and use over-the-ground workers. Meanwhile, Kashmir Valley security grid is on high alert for smooth conduct of Independence Day. Patrolling and frisking operations have been intensified across Kashmir Valley ahead of India's Independence Day. The security grid is on the highest level of alert to ensure peaceful conduct of all official functions on August 15th. The main venue, Bakshi Stadium, has already been fortified by the security agencies, especially police and special security guards. The peripheral areas of the stadium have also been secured by the forces, with the deployment of sharpshooters at high-rise buildings.
It has been an eventful day in Thailand, to say the least. The country's Prime Minister was ousted by the court. Srettha Thavisin was found guilty of constitutional violation. The case revolves around a particular cabinet appointment, the appointment of Pichit Chionban. He is a former lawyer. He is close to the relatives of the ex-Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. I'm talking about the same former Prime Minister who returned to Thailand last year after 15 years in self-imposed exile. Now, Pichit was jailed in 2008 for contempt of court following a bribery attempt. After his appointment to the cabinet in April this year, some conservative senators moved the court, arguing that the appointment was a violation of the ethics rules. Pichit stepped down from office, but that was not enough to save Sreta's office. Thailand's constitutional court has now found that Sreta breached rules on ethics by selecting a lawyer with criminal record to serve in his cabinet. In fact, one of the judges said, and I'm quoting here, the appointment of the second respondent shows the first respondent has no honesty and breached ethical standards. The court's decision is final. It cannot be appealed. Sreta was in office for less than a year, and he also happens to be the third Prime Minister from the Pheu Thai party to be dismissed from office by the Constitutional Court. Here's what the now former Prime Minister said, I'm quoting, "I respect the verdict. I reiterate that for the almost 1 year I have been in this role, I have tried with good intentions to lead the country with honesty," quote unquote. So, immediate question, what happens now? A new Prime Minister will be named. Some names, in fact, are already doing the rounds. Pe Tong Tan Shinawatra, for example. She is the 37-year-old daughter of Thaksin Shinawatra, and if named as the next Prime Minister, Pe Tong Tan will be the third Shinawatra to enter office. Reports say Chai Kasem Nithisri, who is the former Justice Minister of Thailand, could also be named as the next Prime Minister. For now, analysts mention how Sreta's ouster could actually impact Thailand's economy, given the political uncertainty. Foreign investors have reportedly already pulled more than $3 billion from the country's stocks so far this year. Thailand, remember, is the region's second largest economy, but for years now it has been struggling with less than 2% average annual growth. The messy elections, protests, and now the ouster of another Prime Minister are definitely not helping. And what's more, on the 7th of August, the same Constitutional Court dissolved Thailand's opposition party, the Move Forward Party. And this is a party that actually finished first in last year's general elections, but it was unable to form a government. Why? Well, because members of the Senate refused to endorse its candidate for Prime Minister. Earlier this month, Thailand's Constitutional Court said this party's pledge to amend the law was an attempt to topple the monarchy. We will keep you posted on the latest from the country. And we now shift our focus to Afghanistan. The Taliban have marked their third year in power with a military parade. This commemoration took place on Wednesday at the former US Air Base in Bagram, a site that once served as a stronghold for American-led operations against the Taliban. And now it stands as a symbol of the Taliban's rule over the country. Our next report telling you more.
Alongside hundreds of spectators, including Chinese and Iranian diplomats, the Taliban displayed its military capabilities to celebrate 3 years in power. Soviet-era tanks and artillery pieces were towed across the Bagram base, which was once a key location for US forces during the 2-decade-long war in Afghanistan. A procession of motorbikes, each carrying yellow jerry cans, also passed through the parade. These homemade bombs were reportedly used extensively during the conflict. The Taliban forces also showcased US-made armored personnel carriers, adorned with the black and white flag of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, the official name the Taliban have given to their government. Overhead, helicopters and fighter jets flew in formation. This airbase, located 40 kilometers north of Kabul, was once a place where many Taliban fighters were imprisoned. Now it serves as a stage for the celebration of their control over the nation. The significance of this date cannot be overstated. 3 years ago, on August 15, 2021, the Taliban seized the capital, Kabul. This anniversary is observed a day earlier on the Afghan calendar, and it marks a pivotal moment in the country's history. But one of the most contentious issues surrounding the Taliban's rule has been their treatment of women. Under the current regime, women have faced severe restrictions, with many unable to work, pursue education, or even move freely in public spaces. The United Nations has described these policies as gender apartheid. The plight of women under the Taliban rule continues to draw international condemnation. Since the Taliban's return to power, women have been systematically excluded from public life. They have been banned from working in many sectors, denied access to secondary and higher education, and even restricted from visiting parks and gyms. Human Rights Watch has repeatedly called on the international community to put pressure on the Taliban to lift these restrictions. Despite the oppressive environment, many Afghan women continue to defy the odds and risk their lives daily in defiance of the Taliban's restrictions. In July 2023, the Taliban ordered the closure of beauty salons across the country. This decision has had a devastating impact on the estimated 60,000 women employed in the sector. In response, some women have adapted by operating secret salons from their homes or making clandestine visits to clients. These women take extreme precautions to avoid detection. Earlier this year, on International Women's Day, small groups of Afghan women gathered in private to protest the harsh restrictions imposed on them. These demonstrations, held despite the risk of detention and violation, took place in various provinces, including Takhar and Balkh. Women held up signs reading rights, justice, freedom. Others displayed messages such as "Don't give the Taliban a chance" and "Save Afghanistan women." As the Taliban marks its 3-year rule, the situation in Afghanistan remains bleak. The international community continues to grapple with the question of how to respond to the ongoing human rights violations and humanitarian crisis. The resilience of Afghan women, however, serves as a powerful reminder of the strength and determination that persists even in the face of extreme adversity.
Shifting focus for now, Ukrainian forces are pushing on with their major cross-border incursion into Russia's Kursk region for a second week now. In fact, they claim to have taken more ground, captured more Russian prisoners and attacked Russian air bases with drones. Our next story explores why Moscow is finding it difficult to repel the Ukrainian advances.
Heavy fighting is raging in Kursk. The incursion, planned by Kyiv and executed in secrecy with the aim of upending the dynamics of a war. Ukraine's audacious military offensive, surprising even Kyiv's closest allies, including the US, is now pushing the limits of how Western military equipment would be permitted to be used inside Russian territory. The surprise Ukrainian charge onto Russian soil that began on August 6th has rattled the Kremlin. The daring Kursk operation is the largest attack on Russia since World War II. Russia says it has repelled attempts by Ukrainian forces to push deeper into Kursk region in 5 areas and claims over 2,000 Ukrainian troops have been killed. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, on the other hand, says his forces are advancing deeper into Russian territory and claim the Ukrainian military holds 28 settlements in Kursk.
The basic intention of the Ukrainian army is to act within the firepower. So at present, if the front line can be stabilized and a stalemate is formed, it will stick to Kursk like a piece of glue, which might play a role in the following combat operations.
Ukraine is also rapidly building fortifications on borders with Kursk region in the expectation of a Russian counterattack. Ukrainian troops claim they have taken more than 100 Russian soldiers prisoners. Ukrainian trucks were seen carrying blindfolded men in Russian uniform from the border. Images like these are sending shockwaves across Russia.
Это какая-то невероятная тревога.
I feel some kind of incredible anxiety. I feel as if my hands are in a straitjacket because nothing can be done about it. I have relatives living there and they refuse to leave.
We have always understood that a special military operation was underway. But it's war, not just a military operation. And now this is happening right next door to us.
If Ukrainian troops are able to hold territory, they could stretch the capacity of Russian troops, deliver a major embarrassment for Moscow. Given the possibility of Western support for Kyiv waning in the coming months, not least if the US elections return former US President Donald Trump to power, the raid into Kursk gives Ukraine a bit more leverage for any future peace talks. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
India is gearing up for the Independence Day celebrations with the Har Ghar Tiranga movement. From the peaks of Jammu and Kashmir to the bustling streets of Ahmedabad and the valleys of Arunachal Pradesh, citizens are uniting to celebrate their love for the country. Indian Army personnel held a Tiranga Yatra from Jammu and Kashmir's Colonel Rinchand's Memorial to the Hall of Fame in Ladakh's Leh.
भारत माता की भारत माता की भारत माता वंदे वंदे
A Tiranga rally was also held on the world's highest railway bridge over the Chenab River in Jammu and Kashmir's Riyasi district. The 750-meter-long tricolour fluttered, symbolising the strong connection to the national identity. Prime Minister Modi hailed the event as an inspiring demonstration of the region's patriotism. Gujarat's Ahmedabad witnessed a grand spectacle as hundreds of citizens participated in a Tiranga Yatra. The event, flagged off by the Union Home Minister, saw a 2,151-foot-long tricolour being carried with pride through a 3-kilometre stretch from Virat Nagar to the Nikol Khodiar temple. In Gujarat, Surat, the historical significance of the Tiranga Yatra was highlighted as people came together to honour the country's heritage. The event was a vibrant display of unity with people from all walks of life participating, keeping the flame of patriotism burning bright. In northeastern frontier of Arunachal Pradesh, Prime Minister Modi expressed his admiration for the Har Ghar Tiranga Yatra held in Sepa, East Kameng. A 600-foot-long Tiranga was carried by residents, showcasing the unwavering commitment to the country. As the Har Ghar Tiranga movement sweeps across the country, it's clear that the tricolour is not just a symbol of freedom, but a unifying force that binds the diverse cultures and communities of India together. We now shift our focus to a rather peculiar development in the world of international politics. Russia a country embroiled in a brutal war against Ukraine, has sent a rather unexpected, unique gift to its ally, North Korea. What gift, rather gifts, are we talking about? 447 goats. Yes, goats. Moscow, under the watchful eye of its agriculture safety watchdog, has delivered these goats to the North Korean city of Rason. Now, while this gesture may seem absurd at first glance, there is more to this. But what is the real story behind this seemingly benign act of charity? Let's first put this in context. The goats exported from Russia's Leningrad region are the first of many farm animals that Russia intends to send to North Korea. The official line from Moscow is that these goats are meant to provide dairy products for North Korean children, a country where food shortages are rampant. Now, let's just pause here. We are talking about a country where 10.7 million people, nearly half the population, are malnourished. It's a country where 18% of children suffer from stunted growth due to chronic malnutrition. As per reports, the situation in North Korea has only worsened following the COVID-19 pandemic, with its already dire food crisis reaching new lows. So on the surface, these goats might seem like a lifeline, but let's just dig deeper. Why goats, and why now? You see, Russia and North Korea have been inching closer since the war in Ukraine broke out in February 2022. Just this past June, the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met at a summit where the two leaders signed a wide-ranging agreement that covers everything from education to agriculture to tourism. So, what are we to make of this goat diplomacy? Is it a genuine attempt to alleviate North Korea's food crisis? Or is it aimed at strengthening ties? Or is it both? The truth is, it is likely a bit of both. The tongue is one of the most important organs in the human body. It is used for tasting, breathing, swallowing, speaking. But what if I tell you it can also help you detect diseases? Researchers from the Middle Technical University in Iraq and the University of South Australia have done just that. They have developed an AI model that can detect diseases through tongue photos with 98% accuracy. The AI model mimics the traditional Chinese medicinal practice of examining the tongue for any signs of disease. Traditional Chinese medicine assesses various characteristics of the tongue, including color, shape, texture, moisture, to diagnose diseases. For instance, people with diabetes have a yellow tongue, whereas some cancer patients might have a purple tongue with a thick, greasy coating. The AI model was trained on a data set of 5,260 tongue images that were carefully labeled to correspond with various medical conditions. Researchers also conducted tests using 60 tongue images from patients. The AI model managed to identify most of the patient's medical conditions. How remarkable, right? Researchers are hoping to transform the medical industry with this AI model. It's a major breakthrough. They are planning to integrate the AI model into a smartphone app, allowing users to receive instant health assessments by simply taking a photo of their tongue. In other words, in the future, humans might just be able to diagnose diabetes, stroke, anemia, asthma, liver, gallbladder issues, and other conditions by just using their smartphone. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Kampir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching. Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Kampir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Massive turning point in the West Asia conflict. Israel opens Iran war front. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh killed in Tehran, a targeted attack during a visit to Iran for the new president's inauguration. Nearly 2,000 kilometers away in Beirut, Israel kills a top Hezbollah commander in a targeted strike. West Asia on the boil, war clouds darken, and the threat of a wider conflict grows bigger than ever.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
President William Ruto swears in his new cabinet secretaries, much to the dissatisfaction of the Gen Zs, who have harnessed the power of social media to fuel wave of protests and political activism against Ruto's 2-year-old administration. From Botswana's Letsile Tebogo, South Sudan's Bright Stars basketballers, and Algeria's legendary boxer Iman Khelif, we highlight the Olympians who broke records and elevated Africa's status at the Paris Olympics 2024. And slap fighting has been gaining traction in South Africa, often drawing crowds. The sport is seen as a positive influence in local communities. That's this week on World of Africa at these times on WION.
Massive turning point in the West Asia conflict. Israel opens Iran war front. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh killed in Tehran, a targeted attack during a visit to Iran for the new president's inauguration. Nearly 2,000 kilometers away in Beirut, Israel kills a top Hezbollah commander in a targeted strike. West Asia on the boil, war clouds darken, and the threat of a wider conflict grows bigger than ever.
The earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.